In a city that sleeps beneath calm skies, monsters still move in daylight. A casino floor turned into a crime scene. A family home became a battlefield of rage. A burning drum revealed the cost of betrayal. And a song on YouTube confessed what silence tried to hide. Justice came in decades, but peace never followed, because no sentence can rewind time, and no verdict can resurrect the lost. And this is Inside Las Vegas's most notorious black killers, shocking murders, and true crime cases. Welcome back to Justice Reversed, where real crimes meet real justice. Number 1. Aerion Warmsley. He entered the casino before dawn, unaware that every camera was about to record the final moments of a young man's life. 19-year-old Aerion Warmsley stood accused of killing 23-year-old Comanche Osborne inside the Aliante Casino and Hotel in North Las Vegas on March 27. Osborne was the adopted son of former state senator Pat Spearman, a detail that drew statewide attention to the case. What began with a series of warning signs the night before escalated into a deadly confrontation and a violent crime spree across Clark County. On March 26, police were called to a domestic disturbance involving Warmsley after he allegedly sent a threatening text message to a woman asking if she wanted to die. Officers found his Mercedes sedan parked near an apartment building, but he fled before contact could be made. Investigators later confirmed the car was stolen, a crucial link connecting multiple offenses that followed. In the early hours of March 27, surveillance footage at the Aliante Casino showed Warmsley and another man sitting in a stolen car parked around the property. Security staff interacted with them twice, but detected no immediate danger. Around 4:30 a.m., video from the casino floor showed Osborne conversing with Warmsley and his associate. After briefly walking away, Warmsley returned, pulled a handgun, and swung it toward Osborne's head. He missed, and Osborne attempted to flee. Warmsley fired a shot that struck Osborne in the head, then continued to fire 6 more rounds before rifling through the victim's pockets and taking unidentified items. Moments later, he and the other man fled in the stolen Mercedes, which crashed near Spring Mountain Road and Procyon Street. Both suspects ran from the wreck, and Warmsley approached a nearby woman, stealing her gray Mercedes SUV at gunpoint. Police reports describe a dangerous pursuit through multiple jurisdictions involving reckless driving, vehicle thefts, and collisions. During his flight, 2 pedestrians were hit, one suffered multiple fractures and a brain bleed. The North Las Vegas Police Department, aided by its air unit, tracked the SUV near Boulder Highway and Sahara Avenue, where ground officers cornered the vehicle and arrested Warmsley without resistance. Detectives recovered the firearm and matched shell casings from the casino shooting. Witness statements, digital evidence, and casino surveillance footage became the foundation of the case. A Clark County grand jury indicted Warmsley on 7 counts, including murder with a deadly weapon, robbery, and reckless driving causing injury. Federal prosecutors added carjacking charges resulting in serious bodily harm and 3 counts of brandishing a firearm during a violent crime. Warmsley pleaded not guilty to all charges. He remains in custody while state and federal proceedings continue. Public reaction remained restrained but sorrowful. Senator Spearman's family called Osborne's death an unimaginable loss. A civil lawsuit later accused the casino of negligent security, though no changes to Nevada law followed. 3 lessons emerge: early threats can signal deadly escalation, coordinated policing saves lives, and public spaces demand vigilant, visible security presence. Justice moves slowly, but every fact preserved brings truth closer to light. Before moving on, if this truth hits you, press hype, stand with the forgotten, amplify justice, and make sure silence never buries the voices of the lost. Number 2. Roidan Mendoza. He arrived at his ex-wife's apartment in the quiet Las Vegas afternoon, carrying a gun and a growing rage that would end a life. 40-year-old Roidan Dorothy Mendoza was charged with the murder of his 34-year-old ex-wife, Marilorki Tamayo Cruz, just hours after losing a family court hearing in August 2023. That morning, Tamayo Cruz had been awarded full custody of their 2 children, along with the family home and vehicle. Prosecutors later said Mendoza was upset he was losing control and came to take revenge. At 2:30 p.m., Tamayo Cruz received a message from Mendoza asking to exchange vehicles. She ignored it, but minutes later, he arrived at her mother's apartment complex, the destination Spring Valley, demanding the keys. The confrontation escalated quickly. Mendoza fired 11 bullets into the door locks, breaking his way inside. Inside the home were Tamayo Cruz, her teenage daughter, and a 2-year-old child. The 14-year-old called 911, pleading for help as screams and gunfire echoed through the line. Moments later, Mendoza forced his way into a bedroom where the victims had tried to hide. He grabbed Tamayo Cruz by the hair and shot her multiple times, including an execution-style shot to the forehead. In the chaos, the teenager fought back. She grabbed a kitchen knife, stabbed Mendoza in the back, and tried to protect her family. Mendoza disarmed her, slashing her hands in the struggle. 2 other people inside the home were wounded, one shot in the eye, another in the elbow. The 2-year-old survived unharmed. Mendoza fled before police arrived. 30 minutes later, wearing a shirt soaked in blood, he walked into the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and told officers, "I killed my wife." Detectives later recovered 11 shell casings and a 9mm handgun near the victim's body. The front doors were torn apart by gunfire, confirming the brutal forced entry. Mendoza was charged with open murder, 2 counts of attempted murder, and domestic battery with a deadly weapon. He initially pleaded not guilty. Over the next 2 years, prosecutors built their case through forensic evidence, witness statements, and the 911 recording that captured the attack in real time. Facing overwhelming evidence, Mendoza entered a plea deal in August 2025, admitting guilt to murder with a deadly weapon. The remaining charges were dismissed under the agreement, which also required an Alford plea in a separate child sexual assault case. In October 2025, Judge Michelle Levitt sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus 2 consecutive 8 to 20-year terms for weapon enhancements. Public reaction was subdued but filled with grief. Family members described a loss beyond words and pleaded for lasting accountability. The court noted the bravery of Tamayo Cruz's daughter, who fought to save her family despite being only 14. 3 lessons remain clear. Violence thrives when control turns to obsession, justice depends on survivor courage, and domestic violence must never be dismissed as private conflict. Behind every courtroom sentence lies a silence that speaks for the dead. Number 3. Freddie Wright. He waited until the others were gone, then locked the door behind him. What followed would shock even the most seasoned investigators. 43-year-old Freddie Wright was accused of killing his wife, 34-year-old Janelle Bowen, inside their Henderson, Nevada home before burning her remains in a metal drum. The couple, parents to 6 children, had been living with others since early November. Wright, a convicted sex offender, told police he confronted Bowen after suspecting her of infidelity. That confrontation would end in a deadly act of violence and an elaborate attempt to conceal the crime. Detectives later determined the murder occurred between November 18 and 19, 2023. Wright allegedly ordered everyone else to leave the home, saying he needed to speak privately with Bowen after she received a phone call. A witness later told police they looked through a window and saw Wright on top of Bowen, appearing to strangle her as she lay face down. The witness heard him shouting and stopped watching after realizing she was likely dead. In his confession, Wright admitted he argued with Bowen about her relationship with another man. When she confirmed it, he claimed he blacked out and strangled her with his hands before wrapping a cord around her neck until she was lifeless. To hide her body, he covered her in blankets, placed her on a wagon, and wheeled her outside so their children wouldn't see. The next morning, he loaded her into a van, drove around aimlessly, and eventually placed her body inside a trash can. He later transported it to an abandoned hotel, then returned a day later, moving the trash can to a service road off Sunset Road. There, he doused it with gasoline and set it on fire before fleeing the scene. On November 21, firefighters responded to a report of a burning bin along Sunset Road. Inside the 55-gallon drum, they discovered a woman's body wrapped in blankets and wearing only a pink tank top. The Clark County Coroner's Office ruled the death a homicide, citing asphyxiation by strangulation, fractured ribs, and signs of sexual trauma. Investigators identified the victim as Janelle Bowen. Detectives recalled that Wright had previously reported Bowen missing months earlier, telling police she was suicidal, an attempt, they believe, to create a cover story. Police located Wright on November 27. During questioning, he confessed, telling investigators he killed Bowen and set her body on fire. He was charged with open murder, first-degree arson, and destroying evidence, then booked into the Henderson Detention Center without bail. On 7 March 2024, Wright pleaded guilty to all charges. His attorney confirmed prosecutors would not pursue the death penalty. Judge scheduled sentencing for October 7, where Wright faces life imprisonment. Public response was limited, but the case stirred quiet outrage across Nevada, reinforcing concerns about domestic violence and failure to intervene before escalation. 3 lessons remain: unchecked anger can destroy generations, early intervention saves lives, and every domestic abuse report must be treated as potential homicide. Even the fire could not erase what the truth revealed. Number 4. Marketta Phillips. He returned home from a late-night shift expecting peace, but what he found inside would forever change 2 families and a city. The Las Vegas case of 41-year-old Marketta Phillips shocked investigators and parents across Nevada. She was accused of the fatal incident involving Gianni Ross, the daughter of her roommate, Jeremy Ross. Phillips had lived in the same apartment for about a year and often cared for the child while Ross worked overnight. Authorities said the tragedy unfolded quietly in the early morning hours of the 26th of March 2024 inside their home on Channel 10 Drive. That evening, Ross left for work around 6. When he returned just after 3 a.m., the apartment was dark except for one dim kitchen light. Phillips sat motionless on the floor, her clothes stained, surrounded by kitchen utensils. Believing she had injured herself, Ross rushed toward the bedroom. There, he discovered evidence of a violent confrontation involving his young daughter and immediately called 911. The child was taken to a local hospital, where she was pronounced deceased. Phillips fled the apartment on foot while police responded. Detectives soon found disturbing writings on pieces of paper left around the scene, expressing anger and resentment toward others. On the wall, written in red substance, was a phrase investigators interpreted as a declaration of revenge. Officers began a citywide search that lasted nearly 2 hours. Around 5 a.m., patrol units located Phillips in a nearby parking lot. She appeared disoriented, with visible traces of blood. When officers attempted to detain her, she resisted, and a taser was used to complete the arrest. During questioning, she admitted to being responsible for the fatal act, telling detectives she snapped and wanted to get back at him, apparently referring to the child's father. Investigators later confirmed that police had been called to the same residence a week earlier for a mental health crisis involving Phillips, but no charges had been filed at that time. Detectives gathered several key pieces of evidence, including kitchen tools with blood traces and handwritten notes. The Clark County Coroner's Office ruled the death a homicide, confirming the injuries were consistent with a deliberate attack. Police emphasized that the crime was an isolated domestic incident and that there was no ongoing public threat. Phillips was booked into the Clark County Detention Center without bail and charged with open murder with a deadly weapon. In court, the focus turned to whether she was mentally fit to stand trial. 3 psychiatric evaluations were conducted, 2 found her competent, while 1 disagreed. In June 2025, her attorney requested additional time to review those findings, delaying the final competency ruling. The public reaction was restrained but emotional. The victim's parents expressed deep grief and a desire for full justice, while police called it one of the most tragic domestic cases of the year. 3 lessons endure: mental health warnings must never be ignored, trust requires boundaries, and domestic settings can hide unseen danger. Justice moves slowly, but the truth always finds its voice. Number 5. Myron Bullie. It started as a quiet morning shift inside a Las Vegas gas station, but within minutes, one worker's anger would turn into a criminal case of attempted murder. 47-year-old Myron Bullie, an employee at an Arco gas station on Rainbow Boulevard, was arrested after a violent confrontation with a customer, 27-year-old Isaiah Taylor. The dispute, according to police, began over something trivial, a nacho cheese dispenser. What started as an argument about a broken machine quickly escalated into one of the most disturbing assault cases caught on surveillance video in recent Las Vegas history. Around 4 a.m. on September 3, Bullie confronted the customer, accusing him of taking too much nacho cheese and damaging the dispenser. He told the man to leave the store, warning him not to break anything. The customer initially complied, but minutes later returned, demanding his food. Bullie claimed the store was closed, but when the argument reignited, he grabbed a baseball bat kept near the register. Witnesses later told police that the argument spiraled almost instantly into violence. Bullie stated in his interview that he used the bat to push the man out of the store because he started talking trash and made him angry. However, security footage reviewed by detectives told a different story. The video showed Bullie and the customer struggling briefly before Bullie struck him multiple times. As the customer attempted to leave, Bullie followed, hitting him again. Roughly a minute later, he returned to deliver another blow that left the man motionless on the floor for several minutes. Instead of calling for help, Bullie refused. When a witness at a nearby pump urged him to call 911, he allegedly said the man better have learned a lesson. Police arrived around 4:10 a.m. after someone else reported the scene. Officers found the victim outside the store, bleeding heavily from his face and head. He was rushed to University Medical Center with what doctors later described as life-threatening injuries, including 2 brain bleeds, multiple skull and facial fractures, and internal bleeding. The responding officers noted that Bullie showed no sign of distress and had only a sprained wrist from the altercation. When questioned, Bullie was unapologetic, telling investigators he hit the man twice and added that if he had hit harder, his head would have been smashed. Detectives charged him with attempted murder and battery with a deadly weapon. The evidence included surveillance footage, eyewitness statements, and medical reports confirming the extent of the victim's trauma. Bullie was booked into the Clark County Detention Center with bail set at $10,000. As of the latest available reports, police confirmed that the victim remained hospitalized in critical condition. The community response was limited, though many questioned how a disagreement over food could erupt into near-fatal violence. 3 lessons remain: unchecked anger destroys reason, small conflicts can turn catastrophic, and restraint is always stronger than rage. Every action leaves evidence, and this one spoke louder than words. Number 6. Lakeisha Holloway. She drove down the Las Vegas Strip just after sunset, headlights cutting through the crowds. What followed would become one of Nevada's most haunting crimes. In December 2015, 24-year-old Lakeisha Holloway, later known as Paris Paradise Morton, intentionally drove her 1996 Oldsmobile onto the crowded sidewalks of Las Vegas Boulevard. Her 3-year-old daughter was in the back seat as the vehicle careened through a mass of pedestrians, killing 32-year-old Jessica Valenzuela of Arizona and injuring dozens of others. The crash, which witnesses described as deliberate, turned a busy tourist area into a scene of chaos and disbelief. Investigators learned Holloway had been living out of her car for days after leaving Oregon, searching for rest but repeatedly forced to move by security guards. Exhausted, she told police she ended up on the Strip, a place she said she did not want to be. Around 6:30 p.m., she began swerving on and off the sidewalk near Paris, Las Vegas, and Planet Hollywood. Witnesses said the car accelerated to between 30 and 40 miles per hour each time it mounted the curb. Some thought it was a medical emergency until the vehicle returned again and again, striking pedestrians without slowing down. The attack lasted less than a minute. After leaving the scene, Holloway drove to another hotel a mile away and approached a valet, calmly asking them to call the police because she had hit several people. Responding officers said she appeared emotionless and fully aware of what had happened. Her daughter was uninjured. Police confirmed she was sober and no drugs or alcohol were detected in her system. A motive was never clearly established, though investigators cited mounting stress, fatigue, and disorientation. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department gathered extensive physical and digital evidence, including traffic camera footage showing Holloway deliberately steering toward crowds. Her car's black box confirmed that she did not brake before impact. Detectives also reviewed her personal history, a young mother who once overcame homelessness and was celebrated in Portland for turning her life around. Her earlier achievements made the case even more difficult to comprehend. Holloway was charged with 71 felonies, including murder, attempted murder, and child abuse. The legal process stretched nearly a decade, slowed by mental health evaluations and repeated changes in counsel. In August 2025, she pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and battery with a deadly weapon, agreeing to serve 18 years to life in prison. Her sentencing, scheduled for September 25, was delayed after she requested a new attorney. Public reaction remained subdued but sorrowful. Prosecutors called the act horrendous, and the city of Las Vegas honored victims under the banner number Vegas Strong. The tragedy led to lasting safety reforms, including the installation of protective bollards along the Strip to prevent vehicles from entering pedestrian areas. 3 lessons stand clear: unchecked exhaustion can cloud reason, infrastructure saves lives, and mental distress must never be ignored. Justice may delay, but it never disappears beneath the lights of Las Vegas. Number 7. Henry Ruggs III. The city lights blurred into streaks of gold and red that night, but what followed would end 2 young lives in one tragic instant. In the early hours of the 2nd of November 2021, former Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver Henry Ruggs III sped down South Rainbow Boulevard in his Chevrolet Corvette Stingray at 156 miles per hour. Just seconds later, the car slammed into the rear of a Toyota RAV4 driven by 23-year-old Tina Tintor. The impact caused the vehicle to erupt into flames. Tintor and her dog, Max, were trapped inside and died before first responders could reach them. Ruggs, 22 at the time, was transported to a hospital with minor injuries. The crash quickly became one of the most infamous DUI cases in Nevada history. Investigators from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department arrived on scene around 3:40 a.m. They described a mangled wreck, the Corvette's front end crushed, the RAV4 engulfed in fire. Officers noted that Ruggs appeared visibly impaired. A later blood test revealed a blood alcohol concentration of 0.161%, more than twice Nevada's legal limit. Ruggs refused a field sobriety test, and a search of the car uncovered a loaded handgun. Detectives reconstructed the sequence of events using surveillance cameras, skid marks, and the vehicle's onboard data recorder. It showed Ruggs accelerating moments before the crash, striking the Toyota at 127 miles per hour. The speed limit in that area was 45. Prosecutors charged Ruggs with DUI resulting in death, DUI causing substantial injury, reckless driving, and possession of a firearm while under the influence. The charges carried a potential sentence of up to 50 years in prison. The case captured national attention, highlighting the intersection of celebrity, responsibility, and tragedy. Within hours, the Raiders organization released Ruggs from the team. Clark County District Attorney Steve Wolfson called the event 100% preventable. The victim's death resonated deeply throughout the Las Vegas community, reigniting public discussion about drunk driving laws and accountability for professional athletes. Ruggs hired high-profile attorneys David Chesnoff and Richard Schoenfeld, who negotiated a plea deal after nearly 2 years of court proceedings. On the 10th of May 2023, Ruggs pleaded guilty to 1 count of felony DUI resulting in death and 1 count of misdemeanor vehicular manslaughter. In exchange, prosecutors dropped the other charges. Wolfson explained that evidentiary concerns about the blood draw could have jeopardized the case, making the plea the best path to conviction. On the 9th of August 2023, Ruggs appeared at the Regional Justice Center in Las Vegas for sentencing. He received a prison term of 3 to 10 years and became eligible for parole after 3. Public response was mixed. Some called for harsher punishment, while others saw the sentence as just under Nevada law. 3 lessons remain. 1 moment of recklessness can erase a lifetime of success. Choices behind the wheel define legacy, and fame never shields anyone from accountability. The Strip still glows, but the night Henry Ruggs drove changed it forever. Number 8. Chance Comanche. It began with a promise of easy money, but behind it was a plan that would end 1 life and destroy 2 others forever. In December 2023, 27-year-old former NBA player Chance Comanche, who had recently played for the Stockton Kings, traveled to Las Vegas for a scheduled G League game. What appeared to be another professional trip quickly turned into a criminal investigation after police linked him and his 19-year-old ex-girlfriend, Sakari Harnden, to the disappearance of 23-year-old medical assistant Morena Rogers from Linwood, Washington. The events leading to Rogers' death began on December 4, when Harnden, who also worked in escorting, began arguing with Rogers over a Rolex watch. According to investigators, Harnden repeatedly threatened her, saying she would smoke her if she didn't get the watch back. Police later learned that Harnden and Comanche had discussed ways to kill Rogers, even offering $3,000 to find someone else to do it. When that failed, they decided to carry it out themselves. On December 5, Harnden arranged to meet Rogers under the guise of a paid encounter, while Comanche agreed to pose as the client, promising $1,000 for her time. That night, Rogers entered a vehicle driven by Harnden and parked in a secluded cul-de-sac outside Henderson. The situation appeared consensual at first, but it soon turned violent. Investigators said Rogers' hands were zip-tied in the back seat as part of a staged kink request. Moments later, Comanche allegedly strangled her using a cord for about 10 seconds, stopping when she began to struggle. Harnden then continued the act until Rogers stopped moving. The Clark County coroner later confirmed the cause of death as asphyxia due to strangulation. After the killing, the two drove around Las Vegas searching for a place to dump the body. They eventually found a remote desert ditch where they covered Rogers with rocks before returning to their hotels. Surveillance footage showed Comanche returning to the M Resort Casino at 6 a.m., leaving with his team 2 hours later for a game. Rogers was reported missing the next day. The investigation unfolded rapidly. Detectives traced phone records, surveillance footage, and text messages linking both suspects to the victim. Hernandez was arrested on December 13 Las Vegas. 2 days later, Comanche was taken into custody by the FBI in Sacramento after playing his final game. On December 20, investigators recovered her body near Henderson. Both suspects were charged with murder, kidnapping, and conspiracy. They pleaded not guilty. Prosecutors announced in March 2024 that they would not pursue the death penalty. As of now, Comanche remains in custody in Nevada, awaiting a 2026 trial. The case drew public shock for its brutality and the fall of a once promising athlete. The victim's family expressed quiet grief, asking only for justice through the courts. 3 lessons endure: choices reveal character, violence begins in thought before action, and fame offers no immunity from consequence. The rise was swift, but the silence that followed will echo far longer than his name ever did. Number 9. Treavion Randolph. Dontral Beaver, Gianni Robinson, and Damien Hernandez. A street altercation that started over something trivial would end in a death that stunned an entire Las Vegas community. On the 1st of November 2023, a group confrontation broke out in an alleyway near Rancho High School. At the center of it was Jonathan Lewis Jr., who became the target of a violent beating that investigators later confirmed stemmed from a dispute over stolen personal belongings. A bystander's video captured the attack and quickly circulated across social media, showing a group surrounding Lewis and forcing him to the ground. Within seconds, punches and kicks rained down in what police later described as a frenzied, unrestrained assault. When the attackers scattered, Lewis was unresponsive. He was carried back toward the school, where staff performed CPR until paramedics arrived. He was transported to a local hospital, but died 6 days later. The Clark County coroner ruled the cause of death blunt force trauma to the head, classifying the case as homicide. Detectives from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department immediately began reviewing footage and conducting interviews. Within days, 9 individuals were identified and detained. The investigation suggested that at least 10 people participated in the beating, with authorities still searching for one unidentified suspect. 4 of the accused, Treavion Randolph, Dontral Beaver, Damien Hernandez, and Gianni Robinson, were named as principal participants. Based on Nevada law, they were charged with second-degree murder and conspiracy and transferred directly to district court because of the nature of the crime. District Attorney Steve Wolfson explained that the charges reflected the brutality of the attack but stopped short of premeditation, ruling out first-degree murder. As public outrage grew, prosecutors sought to move quickly, using a grand jury to indict the 4 defendants in January 2024. They were held on high bail at the Clark County Detention Center while awaiting trial. In mid-2024, the case took a major turn when all 4 defendants accepted a joint plea deal. They pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter, a lesser charge that allowed the case to move from adult court to the juvenile system under a process known as a reverse waiver. This plea required unanimous acceptance from all defendants. Under the agreement, they will remain in custody for an undisclosed period, but no longer face adult convictions. In the state's rehabilitation system, individuals may be held until age 21, with potential for earlier release upon completing reform programs. Prosecutors described the resolution as an effort to balance justice and rehabilitation while avoiding the risk of mistrials or suppressed evidence. Reaction to the plea was divided. Jonathan's mother, Melissa Reddy, called it devastating, saying the deal failed to match the gravity of her son's death. The district attorney's office maintained that the resolution ensured accountability within the bounds of state law. 3 lessons remain. Violence escalates when anger replaces reason, one reckless act can change countless lives, and justice must always weigh punishment with prevention. In Las Vegas, one senseless moment still echoes louder than the crowd that caused it. Number 10. Kenjuan McDaniel. A single lyric uploaded online turned a quiet homicide file into one of Las Vegas's most unexpected criminal breakthroughs. In September 2021, 32-year-old Randall Wallace was found dead at an apartment complex near Lake Mead and Jones Boulevards. He had been shot multiple times and was pronounced dead at the scene. Witnesses said the gunfire erupted after a brief argument involving 3 people. Detectives later noted that Wallace might not have been the intended target. He appeared to have been caught in the middle of a dispute meant for someone else. A white Chevrolet Malibu was captured on nearby surveillance cameras speeding away after the shots were fired. For months, the investigation moved slowly. Detectives with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department struggled to find direct witnesses willing to come forward. The trail began to shift when, in November 2021, an anonymous source mentioned a street name that eventually led detectives to a 25-year-old local rapper known as the Biggest Fin, 4800, whose real name is Kenjuan McDaniel. Members of the LVMPD gang unit recognized the name, already familiar with McDaniel's prior robbery conviction and multiple arrests. Investigators learned that McDaniel was connected to the owner of a 2013 Chevrolet Malibu matching the vehicle seen fleeing the scene. Forensic analysis provided another break. In April 2023, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives informed LVMPD that a Glock 9mm recovered in California matched ballistic evidence from Wallace's killing. Detectives began piecing together a timeline linking McDaniel to both the weapon and the car. In July 2023, detectives uncovered a YouTube music video posted by McDaniel titled Fade Free. The video contained lyrics and visuals that investigators said mirrored key, unreleased facts from the homicide. One verse described approaching on foot after parking a car, firing shots, and watching the victim collapse. A sequence police believed closely aligned with surveillance footage and crime scene details that had never been made public. The warrant noted that McDaniel's creative expressions went beyond coincidence. His words included unique elements only the killer could have known. Detectives concluded that the video further validated the results of the investigation. On the 29th of August 2023, McDaniel was arrested in Henderson by a joint LVMPD and FBI apprehension team. He was charged with open murder with a deadly weapon and violation of probation. He was booked into the Clark County Detention Center, where he remains held without bail, though court documents briefly listed a $1 million bail with electronic monitoring. As of the most recent filings, no final conviction or sentencing has been recorded. The case drew attention online for how digital evidence, in this instance, a YouTube video, became a central investigative tool. Police emphasized that the lyrics themselves were not the sole cause for arrest, but served as corroboration for existing forensic and witness evidence. The story left 3 enduring lessons. Online self-expression can expose real-world actions. Investigators increasingly trace digital footprints for accountability, and ego can turn art into evidence. In the end, one song may have solved a murder. From casinos to cul-de-sacs, every story tonight proved that truth always surfaces, no matter how carefully it's buried. If you want to keep uncovering the darkest corners of American crime, from Las Vegas to Albuquerque and beyond, make sure you subscribe to Justice Reversed and turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to witness our next investigation. Because in this world, every whisper has a witness, and every secret eventually bleeds into the light.